Good evening, and thank you for joining tonight's telephone town hall hosted by the Jefferson County Board of Commissioners. I'm Roger, and I'll be your moderator tonight as we have a conversation with Commissioners Andy Kerr, Lesley Dahlkemper, and Tracy Kraft-Tharp about Jefferson County's transportation and infrastructure. Now, before we begin, we want to invite you to all start submitting questions early. Although tonight's discussion will focus on transportation, feel free to ask about the issues that are most important to you. We realize that some on the call just want to listen, but if you do have a question, go ahead and press star 3 on your phone, and you'll be transferred to an operator who will take down some basic information. Once the operator notes your information, you'll return to the call and can listen to the conversation until you are called upon to ask your question. So go ahead and press star 3 now if you already know your question, and this is the same process to follow throughout the call. If you hear something that generates a question, press star 3. We'll take just a moment for each commissioner to give a short introduction before we jump into our topics. So first, I would like to turn our call tonight over to Commissioner and Chair of the Board, Andy Kerr. Commissioner, go ahead.
Thank you, Roger. I'm Andy Kerr, and I represent District 2, which is the central part of Jefferson County, including Wheat Ridge, parts of Lakewood, Golden, and Evergreen. I've lived in Jeffco for over 40 years and served my community as a teacher and legislator before becoming a commissioner. Tonight's discussion is focused on the critical transportation needs facing the county, which will include conversations about the services provided by the county, the backlog of unfunded transportation and infrastructure projects, and the impact of the county's funding challenges, and much more. We'll be sure to reserve plenty of time for questions during tonight's call, so press star 3 to ask a question at any time. Your question does not have to be related to tonight's discussion about transportation and infrastructure.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next, we have Commissioner Lesley Dahlkemper. Commissioner, good evening. Please introduce yourself.
Great. Thanks so much, Roger. Welcome to tonight's town hall. I'm Lesley Dahlkemper, and I represent District 3, or South Jeffco. That includes Littleton, Morrison, Conifer, and portions of Lakewood and Evergreen. And our family has called Jeffco home for 27 years. It is an honor to serve as one of your 3 county commissioners. County commissioners also serve on dozens of boards and commissions, and I also chair Jeffco's new Wildfire Commission and serve on statewide and local boards that focus on everything from reducing wildfire risk to fighting the opioid epidemic to economic development and water quality. Before I served on the Board of County Commissioners, I worked as a journalist. I owned a small business. I've also worked in the nonprofit and private sectors. For several months now, as part of our community outreach effort about the county's ongoing funding challenges, we've learned that transportation and roads are among the services that matter most to you, which is why we wanted that to be the focus of tonight's town hall. Once again, if you have a question or a comment, please press star 3 now.
Thank you, Commissioner. Again, next we have Commissioner Tracy Kraft-Tharp. Commissioner, before we get started into our topic for tonight, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Roger. I'm Tracy Kraft-Tharp, and I represent District 1, which is the north area of the county. That includes Arvada, parts of Golden, Wheat Ridge, and Westminster. My family has moved here in 1997. Before serving as a commissioner, being elected last year, I was in the state legislature, worked at Family Tree, ran the Battered Women's Shelter and the Adolescent Crisis Shelter. I had my own small business for 15 years, providing services to small businesses and nonprofits in the community. Some of the boards I serve on include the Mental Health Center of Jefferson County, the Mile High Flood District, and the Airport Noise Roundtable. That'll get some questions going. So as we mentioned, tonight's topic is transportation and infrastructure. We're excited to have several experts join us for tonight's call, including our Director of Development and Transportation, Val Montoya, our Manager of Board of Road and Bridge Operations, Carlos Atencio, Road and Bridge Project Manager, Brian Knight, Director of Transportation and Engineering, Steve Durian, and as a reminder, press star 3 anytime to ask a question and have your voice heard. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Commissioner. Without further delay, Commissioner Kerr will start our discussion off tonight by providing an overview of transportation and infrastructure services provided by the county. Commissioner?
Great, thanks, Roger. So when we talk about the critical transportation needs the county has, those issues are managed by our Department of Development and Transportation. And who better to learn about those services from than Department Director Avel Montoya. Avel, thank you for joining us tonight. Help us understand a little bit more about your department and all that it entails, because I know a lot of people are aware of services like snow plowing and road repairs, but there's a lot more to your department that your department's responsible for.
Thanks for having me, Commissioners. You're exactly right. Our Rhodenbridge division is a big part of our department, which includes snow plowing and road repairs. But the county also provides many other services to ensure our transportation systems and infrastructure are safe and operational. These services include drainage, road and bridge maintenance, sign and striping maintenance, street sweeping, asphalt maintenance and repair, large-scale repairs and new infrastructure, and much more.
Great. So when we're talking about these transportation and infrastructure services, it's important to note what the county is responsible for compared to what's under the direction of other government entities such as CDOT, that's the Colorado Department of Transportation, and of course the cities within our county. So Avel, can you help us understand that important distinction?
It's easiest to break the county into two parts. Incorporated Jefferson County, which includes cities such as Lakewood, Arvada, and Golden, and the unincorporated Jefferson County, which is any land outside of those cities. And that's what we're primarily responsible for, with some exceptions such as state highways and interstates. A majority of the county, about 84%, is unincorporated Jefferson County, which equates to 650 square miles compared to 123 square miles of incorporated area in the county. That means our Road and Bridge Division maintains 3,000 lane miles of paved roadways and more than 600 lane miles of gravel roads. It's the second largest number of lane miles of any county in the Denver metro area, behind only the city and county of Denver.
That's terrific, Avel. Thank you for all that hard work to maintain all of that, and thanks for that information. So to fill us in on some of the transportation and infrastructure projects throughout the county, I'd like to welcome in our Director of Transportation and Engineering, Steve Durian. Thanks for joining us, Steve.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. We have a number of different projects that are in the works, or will begin soon. First is JC 73 from State Highway 74 to Brook Forest, the design of a roadway to a major collector standard with bike lanes, turn lanes, and a sidewalk along Cub Creek. Quincy Avenue Phase 2 is currently under construction with widening to a major collector standard, including a lane in each direction, bike lanes, turn lanes, and sidewalks. Kipling and Bowles intersection is a reconstruction of the intersection, allowing 3 turn lanes in each direction with new traffic signals and pedestrian crossings. And you can find more information and updates on these projects and several more online at our Development and Transportation website at www.jeffco.us/783. Just click the banner on the page to learn more. We're also hoping to kick off a transportation plan update, which will help us identify and prioritize projects. We'll have a robust public outreach effort as part of the planning process. I also wanted to mention a new citizen request management platform we're working on called Q Alert. It's a mobile application where you can submit requests for repairs right from your phone. We'll be sharing more about Q Alert as we get closer to launching it.
Excellent. Thanks, Steve. That all sounds exciting, and I know a lot of people that will look forward to using that Q Alert as they're going around the county. So, I know we're also going to be leaning on your experience again later tonight. So now I'd like it to turn it back over to our moderator, Roger.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Let's take some questions from participants. As a reminder, you can press star 3 if you'd like to participate in the discussion. It looks like several folks have pressed just 3 and forgotten to press the star. So if you have not been successful reaching an operator, try pressing star 3 on your phone to ask a question. We're going to hear first from Susan. Go ahead, Susan, with your question. Hi, Susan. You're live with our audience. What's your question? All right, we'll try coming back to you, Susan. Let's hear from Wanda. Wanda, go ahead.
I'm an 88-year-old senior, and I have to see a lot of doctors, and I was just wondering if they had a transportation plan for seniors that is reliable, because I cannot stand on a corner or wait for a bus.
Wanda, this is Lesley. Thank you so much for your question, because the question you're raising is certainly one that we hear from aging adults in Jefferson County. In fact, I was at the Senior Resource Center a little earlier today, and in Jefferson County, we're all about partnerships, and we work closely with the Senior Resource Center, which also offers transportation through Via Mobility. But I want to share with you that we have our Human Services Director with us, Mary Berg, and she has some more she'd like to share with you, too.
Hi, Wanda. This is Mary Berg. Thank you so much for your question. The resource that Senior Resource Center connects with that provides transportation services, door-to-door transportation services for appointments like doctor's appointments, is called Via Mobility Services. And the telephone number to reach them is 303-444-3043, and they can help you get registered for their ride service. Thank you so much.
All right, let's go to Roger next. Roger, go ahead.
Yes, I live in Conifer, or outside of Conifer, and I noticed the roads are getting worse and worse with the chuck holes. And I know this is the time to be fixing them in the summertime, but the thing is also, I just damaged my motorcycle, bent the rim and everything on 470 and 6th Avenue exit there. Anyway, I want to just state that on the roads going from Conifer to Bailey, or from Conifer coming down towards Denver, the shoulder, if you was to get off of the shoulder, the pavement there, it's like a 6-inch, 7-inch drop where the water has washed away the soil. Do they plan on fixing the shoulders up so that people don't have to maybe possibly hit that and then they veer back over into oncoming traffic?
Thanks for calling, Roger. That's a great question. So for roads in unincorporated Jefferson County, we encourage citizens to call in. As Steve mentioned earlier, the Q Alert's a great way to contact us. We try and get to all those issues in a timely manner. For the shoulder of the road there, I can't speak on that specifically, but for the potholes, we appreciate you bringing them to our attention. We can't get to every road every day, so when you let us know, we get to them as soon as we can.
All right, thank you. That was Brian Knight, our Road and Bridge Project Manager. Great questions so far tonight. If you have a question, be sure to press *3 and you'll get in the queue with our operators. I'd like to turn it over now to Commissioner Dahlkemper to continue our discussion on transportation and infrastructure. Commissioner?
Great. Thanks so much, Roger. You know, as I mentioned earlier, we wanted to discuss transportation and infrastructure tonight because it is one of the issues our community, you've told us, you are most passionate about. And it is also an issue that is greatly affected by the ongoing financial challenges the county continues to face. Strengthening our transportation and infrastructure is really key to moving both the county and the community toward our intended vision. The challenge are those budget constraints, and the funding challenges make it difficult for that vision to become a reality. Our budget for 2022 for the Rhodenbridge mill levy is about $11 million. At this point, our Department of Development and Transportation is facing a backlog of unfunded projects, and that totals in the area of about $400 million, which has recently risen to $500 million, and that's due to cost increases in materials and fuel. As you can see, that mill levy isn't keeping pace with all the projects that need to be addressed. And to learn more about that backlog and how it's affected the counties, or affected by the county's funding challenges, we want to welcome back Avel Montoya, our Director of Development and Transportation. And Avel, talk to us a little bit more about what makes up that huge backlog of unfunded projects.
Thank you, Commissioner. That backlog includes things like large infrastructure projects, potholes in need of repair, roadways in need of asphalt and concrete maintenance and repair, and culvert and bridge replacement and repair. A large portion of the backlog includes projects that are located in unincorporated South Jeffco, which is the area of the county south of Highway 285 and north of C470. That's an area of importance for us because of its unique features. Some of those features include it's highly populated, so those roadways are busier and therefore require more attention to maintain and repair. In fact, 50% of the paved road network we maintain is in South Jeffco. So even though it's a relatively small area, it requires a huge portion of our resources. On top of that, South Jeffco also has expansive soils, meaning those roads deteriorate faster than other parts of the county, regardless of the amount of traffic, which is also higher there. So together, those two convening factors mean the number of projects included in the backlog is adding up quickly.
Great. Thanks so much, Yvel. I'd like to welcome in Rhodenbridge Project Manager Brian Knight. And thanks again for joining us, Brian. Can you explain how infrastructure rises to a critical level? How do we make those determinations about priorities?
Yes, ma'am. We use what's called the Pavement Condition Index, or PCI, which is widely used throughout the industry as a way to monitor the condition of roads, identify maintenance and rehabilitation needs, and ensure the road maintenance budgets are spent wisely. The PCI provides a rating for the condition of a road segment from 1 to 100, with 100 being a brand new road. However, that index is dependent on several factors, like Yvel mentioned, soil expansion, number of vehicles, and freeze-thaw cycles. So we use that as just one factor in looking at what makes a project reach a critical level. 10 years ago, we were at a 72 on average for all roads we maintain, and now we're at a 62. So you can see we're deteriorating quickly. We're soon approaching a point where we may need to replace roads instead of repair them, which has a much higher cost. Our goal is to get our PCI into the 70s, which would have reasonable costs associated with road maintenance.
Great. Thanks so much, Brian. And I know as we continue to chip away at that huge backlog of unfunded infrastructure projects, that increased cost of doing business is affecting everyone, as you pointed out just a moment ago. And road maintenance is no exception.
That's exactly right. Unfortunately, we're seeing an increase in costs of doing business across the board. We've seen a 54% increase in asphalt, a 42% increase in our contract overlays, and a 40% increase in fuel costs. These costs have forced us to reduce our asphalt overlay program from 134 lane miles a year to 113 lane miles in 2022. Added together, these cost increases have a huge impact as we try and keep up with properly maintaining and repairing our roadways.
Well, finally, I know another hurdle we're facing is staffing, and that's not unlike other organizations or businesses out there as well. Jeffco is facing staffing shortages throughout the county, and Jeffco's Development and Transportation Department is among the most impacted. To learn more about how these staffing challenges impact our services to the community, I'd like to welcome Carlos Atencio, the county's manager for Road and Bridge Operations. Carlos, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, we're part of a nationwide shortage of equipment operators with commercial driver's license. Currently, we're down 25 drivers, and we're at a competitive salary disadvantage due to budget constraints. This shortage affects hauling capabilities when it comes to asphalt milling operations, asphalt paving operations, gravel road maintenance, culvert repair and replacement projects, material transport operations. So even if we had all the funding necessary to take care of that $500 million backlog, we also need to be competitive in recruiting and retaining equipment operators with CDLs.
Carlos, thanks so much. Thanks so much for all you and the team do on this front. And although we've been talking about some challenges, I know the team works incredibly hard to come up with creative solutions and innovative processes to address both roads, but also recruitment and retention as well. So thank you for that work. I'd like to turn it back over to our moderator, Roger, to take some questions from our participants. Roger.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Again, as a reminder, if you would like to ask a question or make a comment, press *3 on your telephone You'll be transferred to an operator who will take down some basic information and get you in the queue. Don't forget the star. It looks like people are still forgetting the star. Okay, let's hear next from Pius. I'm sure I mispronounced your name. Go ahead.
Well, if it's a good try. Anyway, Pius is the name. The question I have is, has there been any discussion on the possibility of having an express run from the Golden or Englewood stations to downtown? It would really help if there was, say, every other hour or on the hour or something like this, because taking from the Taj Mahal to the airport takes about a 2-hour or sometimes a little over 2 hours. So it would really help if we could shorten the time by maybe having only 2 or 3 stops from the Taj Mahal to downtown. Your comment?
Thank you for that great question. Transportation is very important to the county and to the residents, especially seniors. We know that our mass transit options like rail or bus can be more robust, but we are thankful for the services that we have in place. I do want to mention that the county is working with the Denver Regional Council of Governments, otherwise known as DRCOG, on a greenhouse gas rule. And what that means is DRCOG's helping us figure out some policies that would apply to help us get funding to make bus rapid transit and possibly rail solutions to help increase our mobility for seniors and others. So stay tuned. More information will be available in October when DRCOG plans on adopting some policies.
All right, thank you. I'm going to repeat a number that was given out just a minute ago for senior rides. Patricia specifically asked that we repeat it. I think she grabbed a pen. So here's the number for Via Mobility Services, 303-444-3043, 303-444-3043. Via does a terrific job, so hope that helps Patricia and others listening tonight. Okay, we're going to hear from Damien next. Go right ahead.
Hi, my name is Damien Gaddis. I've lived here since I was young, and I was just wondering, as we go into this new bike lane stuff, what are you guys going to do for bike thefts? And how are we going to work that? Me personally, I know some of the turns are not as safe as I'd like, and I've had my bike stolen twice, so it is a raise for concern for the younger kids. And that will be it.
Great. Thanks, Damien. Really appreciate that question. This is Commissioner Kerr again. Being a pretty avid cyclist myself, certainly I'm looking forward to, and we're going to get an update on the Jeffco bike plan coming up, and as new infrastructure is put in place, that's certainly going to be exciting, but also we all need to learn how to utilize it. Bike thefts, I have experience in that on the receiving end as well. First of all, we are I know our sheriff, our deputies are working closely with all the cities, municipalities, making sure our communities are as safe as possible. And one of the things that I know all of our law enforcement in Jefferson County really reiterates over and over again is prevention. So for myself, I left my garage door open and my bike got stolen. Just a reminder out there in the summer times when the hot temperatures and we're trying to cool off our garages, we just have to remember to put our garage doors down. And also where you're parking your bike. So if you ride to work or if you ride to the store, talk to the people, the facilities folks there, make sure that there's a safe place to park. I know most of our schools now have bike racks that are inside a fence and then get locked while the students are in school. So things like that are things that where we're shopping or working or playing, that we can make our property as safe as possible and make it easier for our law enforcement to do their job.
All right, great questions. Let's hear from Michelle next. Michelle, you're live. Go ahead.
Hi, I live in unincorporated South Jefferson County in Meadowbrook Heights, and I'm just south of Chatfield Avenue. We have an entrance into our neighborhood that comes west off of Wadsworth. It's Brook Drive. It's my understanding from a new neighborhood that went in next to us in the past couple of years that that intersection was supposed to have a turn lane and it was supposed to be improved years ago, and it never was. And there also is, I'm on the very south end of that neighborhood. The King Supers at Chatfield and Wadsworth is all of a half a mile from my house, but there's absolutely no way that I can walk there safely. And those are two major concerns. I've lived in my house for 35 years, raised two kids. That intersection is way more dangerous than it's ever been. And if you want to walk to King Supers, you have to walk on Wadsworth and cross that intersection going north to get to a sidewalk.
Thank you, Michelle, for your question. Every single request that comes into Jefferson County, one of our qualified and traffic engineers takes a look at the issue, and so we take concerns from QAlert, which we mentioned earlier, as well as our website and by a phone. You can find our phone number and contact information by email on our website, and we're happy to look into any concerns that you have out there, and we'll definitely take a look at this as soon as we can.
Thank you, Steve. That was Steve Durian, who is the county's Director of Transportation and Engineering Services. All right, I'd like to turn the call over now to Commissioner Kraft-Tharp to continue our discussion on transportation and infrastructure. Commissioner, go ahead.
Thank you, Roger. Thanks, everybody, for all the questions so far. And remember, we'll take one more round of questions at the end of tonight's call. So remember, you can participate in the discussion by pressing *3 on your phone. And remember the *3 on your phone. So I'd like to continue the conversation on transportation by exploring two topics that I know that are of great interest to the community: snow removal and the county's new bike plan. So let's start first with snow removal. Even though we are jumping into summer, it's always a relevant discussion, especially because of the changes we had to make to our snow removal procedure this past winter. So I'd like to bring back Carlos Atencio, our Road and Bridge Operations Manager, to talk about all things snow removal and how the shortage of CDL drivers changed our approach when it came to snow and ice removal this year. Hey, Carlos, are you still here?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Our revised snowplow and ice removal procedure is based on 4 priority levels, and those priority levels dictate the order which streets are plowed during a snowstorm. These priorities are Priority 1, main arterial streets that provide high traffic volumes. Priority 2, roads that are major subdivision collectors, school zones, and bus school routes. Priority 3 routes, which are residential or other local roads that carry moderate to low traffic volumes. Priority 4, which are cul-de-sacs or other dead-end roads carrying very low traffic volumes.
Thank you, Carlos. So that is some great information, and hopefully it helps answer some questions that our residents may have about when and how their roads are plowed. So let's switch gears now. I'd like to again bring in our Director of Transportation and Engineering, Steve Durian, to talk about the recently adopted bike plan. So thanks for joining us tonight, Steve. So exciting news for you and your team recently, as last week the Planning Commission adopted the new Jefferson County Bicycle Plan. Tell us more about what exactly the plan is and how it will impact our community.
Since adopting the county's bicycle plan in 2012, industry standards and best practices have changed significantly, and that original plan became outdated. Also, the need and desire for greater mobility options for residents and visitors has increased, especially since the start of the pandemic. To accommodate these changes, Jefferson County Transportation Engineering pursued and was awarded a Transportation Improvement Program grant by the Denver Regional Council of Governments to update the county's bike plan. A lot of work went into the process of putting the plan together going back to last spring. We've had 4 public meetings, 2 open houses during the first phase of the public engagement in August and September, and 2 more open houses during the second phase in March and April. There are also 6 stakeholder groups between the internal and external advisory team. A full breakdown of the entire process can be found on our website at www.jeffco.us/bike-plan.
So great, Steve. So sounds like some good input. So what are some of the highlights that emerged from the new bike plan?
2 things we're most excited about are the plan prepares us to apply for grants and be prepared for when those grant opportunities come along. Also, proposed maintenance and operations projects can now easily be incorporated with existing maintenance programs.
So thank you. So I'd like to wrap up our conversation with a question about the bike plan that we received via social media. That question was, Steve, how can we get bicycling infrastructure to have its own line item in the budget?
Great question. Although the county does not budget specific line items for budget infrastructure, many of the costs associated with bike infrastructure are embedded with other items. These include siding and striping, asphalt, and within capital project line items for specific projects. The bike plan was just approved last week, and we'll be pursuing grant opportunities to help pay for striping and signs related to the new bike plan. Multimodal projects are important to us, and we are part of the Denver Regional Council of Governments, which is currently discussing how multimodal funding may be encouraged by new policies.
Great. Thanks so much, Steve. Roger, back to you.
All right. Thank you very much. Again, as a reminder, please press star 3 on your telephone keypad if you would like to ask a question. And let's go to Nancy. Nancy, go ahead.
Yes, I live on Blue Creek Road, right off Highway 73. I built my house 15 years ago, and they told me that they had funding for the expansion and adding shoulders to Highway 73, basically from the Flying J Ranch through Evergreen Meadows and up to the roundabout. Nothing has happened. And now they're working in downtown Evergreen instead. And where Blue Creek Road comes into Highway 73 is highly dangerous. There's always people going into the ditch, both off of Blue Creek and on Highway 73, where people turn on Blue Creek and they come around the corner and go into the ditch because there's nowhere else to go other than hitting cars. And I'd like to see if that is scheduled at all for correction.
Thank you, Nancy, for your question. We have been doing work along Highway 73 and adding shoulders in that vicinity. Oh, sorry. By the way, I'm Steve Durian, the Transportation Engineering Director. Sorry to not introduce myself. But yeah, we do have some projects in the works on Highway 73. We do prioritize our projects by several factors, and not every project appears in our 5-year capital improvement project. But we are moving forward as resources allow, and Highway 73 is in our capital project list for the future, and we'll continue to work on Highway 73 as time as resources allow. All right, Lori is next. Go right ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I appreciate all that you do. I know that this is there's quite a bit to focus on. I live in unincorporated Jefferson County, have so since 1983, and I'm up on the top of Gap Road from Highway 72 overlooking Golden Gate Canyon State Park. And I've been here 16 years, so I have a good idea of how services go, and I'm speaking mostly about snow removal, although the road is in disrepair as well. But the snow removal last year, we had a sign that said the services were going to be abbreviated or changed, and I understand that, the lack of drivers, that makes sense. That helps me understand. But I could count on one hand when, the plow came, and when they did, it was one lane, and it prevented my husband from going to work. And we are a bus route. So I wondered, my question is, how can this become more of a priority? It feels like our services are diminishing each year, and it's discouraging.
Hi, this is Carlos Atencio, the Rhodenbridge Operations Manager. And first, I have to say that we have made some changes. We divided the county into two regions: the plain areas and the mountain areas, and we approach them the two differently when it comes to snow removal. So in the plains, if snow accumulations are 6 inches or less and melting is forecasted to occur within 72 hours, snow plowing will not occur on priority 3 and 4 streets. And this is due to lack of manpower and CDL drivers. We've had to make some of these changes. As well, the other changes in the mountain areas is that snow plowing and application of traction materials will not take place from 9 p.m. till 3 a.m. When snow depths are seriously impeding vehicle mobility and melting is not forecasted to occur within 72 hours, that's when priority 3 and 4 streets will be plowed in the mountains. Specifically up in the Cold Creek area where you're talking about on Gap Road and Twin Spruce, we were very short-handed this last winter, and I think the employees up there did a phenomenal job trying to keep up with the snow plow operations. And if we're fully manned, which we're hoping to do, be fully manned within the next couple of weeks or so up there, that should change a little bit.
All right, thank you, Carlos. We have about 20 minutes left in the call, so you still have time to get in the queue. Just press *3. Let's hear from Randy next. Randy, go ahead.
Oh, hey, good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to, listen in and participate. I've never been a part of this forum. This is awesome. Been living down here in South Jeffco for over 40 years. So thank you again for the opportunity. I just want to, mine is more praise than anything else. I've seen the work down on Kipling and Bowles / Bellevue, between Bellevue and Bowles, so that's awesome. That's really nice because that is really a high traffic area, so that was really good. And I just wanted to say another thing too. I drove up to Red Rocks. I'm not sure what part of that the county has to to maintain or whatever, but that was kind of good going through Morrison that way. I usually use that way because I live at Bellevue and Sims kind of over in that area, so that was really good. And then I just had to give you this note. I took my sister up to Bailey one day, and we came back down, and she was like going crazy because she thought the road was like a roller coaster ride at Disneyland. It's like kind of like those curves and down and up and whatever. So it kind of she grew up in Michigan. She's from Michigan, so it kind of threw her off. So it was kind of a heck of a ride for her. But I mean, overall, I mean, I really do appreciate what the county is doing for the infrastructure on this part of town and what they're doing. I mean, I remember back before Clement Park was built and all that whole area over there. I used to live at Coal Mine and Kipling, or Coal Mine and Watts. So I seen the change over the years. So I mean, thank you very much for what you guys are doing. I appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Randy. We appreciate when residents call in and acknowledge the hard work of our staff. Certainly our transportation and engineering and road and bridge staff work really hard, sometimes in bad weather, whether that's hot or cold, and certainly sometimes short-staffed. So we appreciate all their hard work. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to hear from Marvin next. Go ahead.
Yes. I've heard that they're going to do away with the senior discount on our property taxes. Have you heard anything about that?
Thanks for your question, Marvin. This is Commissioner Kerr again. And so the senior property tax exemption is still available. You have to be 65 years or older and have been in your home that you've owned for at least 10 years. You need to file that yourself with the assessor's office, and for this year, you need to file that on or before July 15th, which is coming up in exactly a month, actually. So be sure and get that in. But the senior property tax is still available, 65 years plus, 10 years in your home. And if you have any other questions, I would imagine reaching out to the assessor's office might be a good idea. I don't have that phone number at my fingertips, but you can certainly get it from our website.
Commissioner, we'll find that number and give it out, so have a pencil ready. Let's hear from Debbie next. Go ahead.
Hey, good evening. I'm not sure this is the right forum for my concern, but we'll try it anyway. We live in central Jefferson County, unincorporated. We are right off of 44th north of Golden. And we have a gully that runs behind us. And the train museum is there, sending out sparks. This gully is full of dead wood, and given the fire situation, we're wondering who addresses this. You know, where do we go?
That's a great question. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. Safety is always our first priority. So I would suggest to start with our Planning and Zoning office. They can verify if that property is in unincorporated Jefferson County. They can also verify property boundaries and property owners. That way we can help fix the problem or at least direct it to the place it needs to go. Please contact the Jefferson County Planning and Zoning office by calling 303-271-8700. Thank you.
Okay, Rich, it's your turn. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Rich Rooney, and our family's lived out here since 1859. And they're going to do, I'm told, a new visitor center and changing the Alameda Parkway and Rooney Road. I just wondered when that was supposed to occur, or if the plans have been made through with the commissioner on these things for accessibility for Dinosaur Ridge and all the visitors that come to Colorado.
Thank you, Rich, for your question. This is Steve Durian once again. The improvements on Rooney Road and Alameda are largely dependent on development in the area. So we don't know exactly what the schedule for development will be. That's really dependent on other parties, but that is something that we've been awaiting for development in the area to construct.
Okay, great questions. Still time to get in the queue. Just press star 3 on your phone. And we're going to hear Charles' question next. Go ahead.
Well, hi there. On the question about, road repairs and potholes and that whole subject, it's not just a Jefferson County issue. It's a whole state of the Colorado issue. And for decades, my understanding is that the Colorado legislature has diverted funds from dollars that were supposed to be devoted to road repairs into all kinds of other things. And I'd like to hear whatever kind of comments we could have on that and what could be done about it. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. As you mentioned, funding for transportation has multiple layers and is complicated often. In regard to how the state budgets and moves money from one fund to another, the county certainly monitors those things and gives feedback as appropriate. We are part of Colorado Counties Incorporated, which also helps monitor state financial changes or appropriation for transportation, and we certainly have a voice with that group with our state delegation. I do want to mention as well that we get funds from federal taxes as well, fuel taxes. We get county funds from vehicle registration, that's the vehicle ownership taxes and other licenses and other fees. Brings up the county's total revenues projected for 2022 to $46 million. $11 million of that is from our mill levy that we collect from property taxes. But as we discussed previously, the local infrastructure needs are large. Our revenues don't cover the needs at this time. So we try to work with the state and any funding programs they have available, such as grants, and try to partner with them to the best of our ability without being negatively impacted by Tabor.
All right, thank you. Kathy, thanks for your patience. It's your turn. Go ahead.
Sorry, yes, I this was a comment. I heard you were having problems getting commercial driver's license people, and I wondered, and I just don't know, do you folks have training programs, free training programs that you offer to people in that field? And if not, are you partnered with some of the local or nearby schools? And do you do any outreach to, there are a lot of kids that decide that routine college isn't their route. I've even known teachers to switch because you get paid better to get their CDLs. What kind of outreach do you do to fill the gap? If you have a 25% gap or 25 people gap, what are you folks doing to try to remedy that? And those are some ideas if you're not already doing it.
Kathy, thanks so much. This is Lesley. Those are great ideas. Really appreciate the question, because Jefferson County, like other businesses and organizations across the county, are looking at new and innovative ways to help with recruitment and retention. And we're doing some good work specifically related to the issue of CDLs. I'm going to bring Carlos back to share a little bit more about what specifically the county is doing in that area.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, just like Commissioner Dalcamper stated, Jefferson County has several trainers, CDL trainers. We have a trainer at each district to help train new employees that do not have a CDL. We're also working on a training academy for other pieces of equipment, not only CDL drivers. So yes, but we did have a new state law that went into effect in February that states that we have to send our CDL drivers to school. And so we have our trainers train new employees before they even go to that school so that they feel more comfortable going into the state-mandated school.
Thank you, Carlos. Next is Dale. Go right ahead with your question.
So if I were to, been listening to the whole conversation, and if I were to summarize it, it's all coming down to funding. We've got a lot of shortages across the board. And is it Tabor that's causing that, or how is that going to be addressed going forward? Because I originally grew up out east where there was a lot of freeze and thaw cycles, and we had potholes all over the place. But we had the road maintenance crews and funding to take care of it. And so wondering how that's going to be addressed long term.
Dale, this is Don Davis, the county manager. Thank you for your question. I appreciate that. Taxpayer Bill of Rights is something that's a constitutional issue, and as many folks know, that it's something that's been around for a while, and a lot of people believe in it strongly. it does limit local government's ability to fund certain things, and of course that's something we're not immune to that. And we're one of 2 counties in the state that have not done anything to limit the impacts of Tabor, and so that is a challenge that we've been able to deal with successfully for several years, and we've been able to do that comfortably. We're working through some financial issues now. In fact, I would direct you to our website. It's got financial realities webpage on within the county. So if you go to the county webpage and you do a search for financial realities, there'll be some documents you can look at that are. I'm not sure, Dale, but if you could mute your phone, there you go. We've got a page that kind of details out the financial realities, some of the things that we're working through right now, and the Board of County Commissioners are dedicated to doing what's best for the county, and they're making great decisions, and they will continue to do so in the future. I know that as we look at Tabor and as we come out of the pandemic and the funding, the federal dollars that have come in, that has been very helpful for our challenges, but that will soon change. And once we get on the other side of the pandemic, we'll have some challenges to address. So as we see those and we look at them, I would say that stay informed on our financial realities page and stay tuned because we'll need your help in addressing these issues in the future.
All right. Thank you, Don. Here's that number for the assessor. We had a question a few minutes ago about a senior exemption. And you can call the assessor at 303-271-8600, 303-271-8600. Evie or Evie, you're next. Go ahead.
Hi there. Thank you. This is Evie. And first of all, I was delighted to answer my phone and hear this was going on because I have felt somewhat disconnected from the whole setup since I'm probably one of the last of the baby boomers, rebel without a clue, but I refuse to do smartphones and online, and I have found that it's extremely difficult to get a hold of any representatives or offices if you don't. So with that, first of all, I'd like to say big kudos to the Department of Transportation in Jeff County. I moved from a city and we never had snow removal, and that's been a treat ever since we've been here. Those guys do an amazing job. So thank you for all the hard work. I know it's been hard with fewer workers, and I thought it was a wonderful idea, the outreach program that the woman caller suggested. But my issue is, thanks for calling me because I am between Quincy and Bellevue, between Sims and Kipling, and I think I'm District 22. That's what I used to be, but I'm not sure. But I have not known or been contacted or had anything from a rep since 25 years ago when I first moved here. And at that time, Ken Selmers, bless his heart, used to come door to door. And we got to talk issues. We got to know what was going on. That is not my politics, but I had to give the man credit for getting out and knowing his district. Commissioner Kerr, congratulations. I was there when you were elected at your party, but that's the last I heard from you or your office. Since then, I have no idea who represents this district, and when I found out, calls are never returned. There's nothing to do if you don't flat do it online, and that's very frustrating. So with that, my concerns have been we've been lucky where I live. You can live west, and part of the luxury of living here is obviously the mountains. But it's gotten sloppy, like with cables being put up across instead of underground. So, it blocks the views that way. That was my first little bit of a
I'm going to jump in because we're running short on time, and I think Commissioner Kraft-Tharp's going to address your question and comment.
Here's my most important on that. Besides knowing who my district is, I want to know why the mountains are being stripped. I don't know the exact peaks. They're being stripped, and I want to know what permits came from that, and I want to know why Lakewood is all of a sudden annexing so much of unincorporated Jeff County.
All right.
Thank
Those
you.
are a lot of questions.
Yep.
Commissioner, give it a go.
Built up for years.
Hey, Evie. I'm going to have Steve Durian take that question about the mountain peaks in just a moment. However, I just want to tell you we want you to call on every one of our town meetings because we've got an amazing transportation team, and as you were talking about what great work they do, every one of them had a huge smile on their face because a lot of people don't say thank you, and so we need you to call at every single town meeting. Would you do that? Okay, good. So let me address your question about the state representatives. Commissioner Kerr is sitting next to me, and he's on his way to your house right now because he should have been there before. So, you could find out your state representative and how to contact them through vote11.org. It's very confusing this year because everything is changing. The people that represented you before are not representing you now because with the census, every 10 years, we do redistricting and all of the districts change. So it can be very confusing, but vote11.org can get you that information. You could look at the map at leg.colorado.gov, or call our office here, and I'd be happy to help you be able to figure out who your representative is. So, Steve Durian, tell me about the mountain peaks, okay? Do you know about that?
This is the first I've heard about it, but you're definitely welcome to give us a call at my office, 303-271-8495. Let us know what mountain peaks you're worried about, and we'll look into it.
All right. Let's hear from Julie next. Go ahead, Julie.
Hi. First of all, I want to thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity to hear not only the representatives, but the people who live in Jefferson County. I mean, so astute and wonderful questions. Here's my question. I'm very interested in helping elderly people, and Jefferson County has so many retirement homes and opportunities for older people to live. And, of course, then there's those who are at home. But the problem seems to be currently how to vote. How do they get proper registration? So many, of course, are no longer driving. If the driver's license is to be used as ID, why not have a photo ID issued by the state or something to give some coherence and confidence to people who are citizens and who have a right to vote and want to vote. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Julie, and your question. I appreciate that. Those are all great points, and all of those issues are addressed on our Jeffco elections page. Our IT department, in collaboration with the clerk and recorder, have put together an amazing landing page that has every bit of information that you would want to see, as well as some of the things that you brought up in your question. So that website, or that web page, is www.jeffco.us/elections. ELECTIONS. If you go to that web page, you will find all the information that you would like to have on all things elections and voting and all the types of things. And there's even a point of contact. If you have questions or concerns relative to elections or voting or how you feel about that, you can contact the clerk and recorder. And his information, they have an email link there. They have a phone number at 303-271-8111. I say that again, 303-271-8111. And if you call that number, you can have just about any election question answered there. So thanks again, Julie, for your question.
Thank you, Don. Well, these have been some terrific questions tonight. We've had almost 2,500 people participate, and we have just a couple minutes left. So, Commissioner Kerr, do you have some final thoughts?
Yes, thank you, Roger, and thank you, everyone, for participating in tonight's telephone town hall. I want to pass along some additional information about this year's primary election. Don just gave you most of this information, but in case you need to write it down. So at this point, you should have received your primary ballot in the mail from the Jeffco Clerk and Recorder. If you've not received your ballot, please contact the Clerk and Recorder. The ballots must be received by 7 p.m. on June 28th, but the last day to mail those in is June 20th. And there are plenty of ballot drop boxes here at the Jeffco Government Center, most of the town halls or city halls and libraries. Also, don't forget, if you're an unaffiliated voter, return only one of the ballots you receive. Don't turn both of them in or they'll both be scrapped. And if you'd like to vote in person, visit www.jeffco.us/elections to see the list of all voter services and polling centers. Commissioner Dahlkemper, any final thoughts as we wrap up tonight?
Yes, thanks so much, Commissioner Kerr, and thanks to all of you for staying on the call with us tonight. Great questions. We hope we got through a lot of the questions you raised tonight. If you'd like more information about any aspect of the county's transportation and infrastructure, or if you have more questions, please visit our website at www.jeffco.us. And thanks again for joining us tonight. Commissioner Kraft-Tharp, any final thoughts?
Thank you, Commissioner Dalcamper. So everybody, thanks so much for joining us tonight. If we didn't get to your question tonight, please leave us a voice message. At the end of our call tonight, you will hear a recorded message. Then you can leave your comment or your question after the tone. Someone from our team will get back with you. So again, thank you all so much for participating.
Thank you, Commissioners. We are sorry if we did not get to your questions tonight, but as you just heard, you can leave us a message at the end of the call, so just stay on the line and wait for the tone. On behalf of the Commissioners and staff here tonight, thank you very much for participating. Stay safe and stay healthy, and have a good evening.